What if I told you that entire civilizations once thrived, their stories etched not in stone, but in the whispers of forgotten rituals, from the shadowed temples of ancient empires to the sacred groves of lost tribes? These practices were the heartbeat of societies long gone. Yet, they hold secrets that could rewrite our understanding of history. How did these rituals shape the rise and fall of civilizations? What mysteries do they still guard, waiting to be uncovered? Today, we're embarking on a journey through 20 enigmatic rituals, each a window into the beliefs, fears, and dreams of those who came before us. These aren't just relics of the past, they're keys to understanding who we are and how we got here. So, are you ready to step into the unknown and explore the forgotten rites that once defined entire cultures? Let's dive in. The sun was more than just a source of light and warmth to the ancient Egyptians. It was a divine force, a life giver, and the very embodiment of their god Ra. At the heart of this reverence stood the Sun Temple of Abu Ghurab, a site so meticulously aligned with the heavens that it seems to whisper secrets of a civilization deeply attuned to the cosmos. Built around 2400 BCE, this temple wasn't just a place of worship. It was a celestial observatory, a stage for rituals that bridged the earthly and the divine. Every detail of the temple was intentional. Its central altar, or Benben stone, was positioned to capture the first rays of dawn, symbolizing Ra's daily rebirth. During solstices and equinoxes, sunlight would stream through its corridors in precise patterns, illuminating sacred spaces in a dance of light and shadow. These alignments weren't accidental, they were calculated with astonishing precision, reflecting the Egyptians' belief that the sun's journey across the sky mirrored the cycle of life, death, and renewal. But the rituals here went beyond mere observation. Priests would offer symbolic gifts, gold, incense, and sacred oils, to appease Ra and maintain cosmic balance. These offerings weren't just acts of devotion, they were acts of survival. The Egyptians believed that Ra's favor ensured the Nile's annual flooding, which in turn guaranteed bountiful harvests. Without these rituals, they feared chaos would reign both in the natural world and in their society. It's no wonder that the pharaoh, often seen as Ra's earthly representative, played a central role in these ceremonies, solidifying his divine mandate to rule. What's fascinating is how these practices shaped more than just religion. The temple's alignment with celestial events wasn't just symbolic, it was practical. The Egyptians used these observations to develop one of the earliest known solar calendars, which guided their agricultural cycles and governance. The rhythm of their society was, in many ways, dictated by the sun. And while the Sun Temple of Abu Ghurab may now lie in ruins, its legacy endures in the way we still mark time and seek harmony with the natural world. This connection between celestial worship and daily life wasn't unique to Egypt. Across the globe, ancient cultures looked to the heavens for guidance, weaving the movements of the stars and sun into their rituals and beliefs. But as we'll soon see, the ways they expressed this reverence were as diverse as the civilizations themselves. Far from the sun-drenched temples of Egypt, deep within the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya civilization practiced rituals that were equally profound but starkly different in form. Imagine a scene where smoke rises from incense burners, the air thick with chants and the rhythmic beat of drums. Here, in the heart of Maya cities like Tikal or Palenque, rulers and priests gathered to perform bloodletting ceremonies, rituals that were as much about power as they were about spirituality. These weren't mere acts of devotion, they were profound acts of communication with the divine, where blood was the sacred currency. The Maya believed blood was the essence of life, a potent force that could bridge the gap between the mortal world and the gods. To offer blood was to offer life itself. Rulers, often depicted in carvings and murals, would pierce their tongues, ears, or genitals using obsidian blades, tools so sharp they could cut with surgical precision. These blades, crafted from volcanic glass, were more than instruments. They were symbols of divine connection, believed to channel the energy of the gods. The pain endured during these rituals wasn't seen as suffering, but as a testament to the ruler's strength and dedication to their people. These ceremonies weren't random acts of piety. They were intricately tied to the agricultural cycles that sustained Maya society. Blood offerings were often performed during key moments in the farming calendar, such as planting or harvest seasons. The Maya believed that by shedding their blood, they could ensure the gods' favor, guaranteeing rain, fertile soil, and abundant crops. In a world where survival depended on the whims of nature, these rituals were a way of exerting control, however symbolic, over the unpredictable forces of the environment. But bloodletting wasn't just about agriculture, it was also a display of political power. When a ruler performed these ceremonies in public, it was a spectacle of authority. By willingly enduring pain and offering their life force, they demonstrated their divine right to rule. These acts were often recorded in stone, immortalizing their sacrifices and reinforcing their legitimacy. In a society where the spiritual and political were deeply intertwined, bloodletting rituals were a way to maintain order, both in the cosmos and on Earth. What's striking is how these rituals reveal the Maya's complex understanding of the world. Blood wasn't just a physical substance, it was a metaphor for life, renewal, and connection. Through their ceremonies, the Maya sought to balance the forces of creation and destruction, life and death, chaos and order. And while the tools and methods may seem extreme to modern eyes, the underlying principles of sacrifice, connection, and renewal are themes that resonate across cultures and time. As we peel back the layers of Maya spirituality, it's impossible not to marvel at their ingenuity and depth of belief. But these rituals weren't the only way ancient civilizations sought to connect with the divine. In the next section, we'll explore how sacred animals played a central role in the spiritual lives of other cultures, bridging the gap between the human and the divine in ways that continue to fascinate us today. Deep in the humid jungles of what is now Mexico, the Olmec civilization thrived over 3,000 years ago, leaving behind a legacy as enigmatic as it is awe-inspiring. At the heart of their spiritual world was the jaguar, a creature they revered not just as an animal, but as a symbol of raw power, transformation, and the bridge between the earthly and the divine. To the Almecs, the jaguar wasn't merely a predator, it was a sacred being, embodying the mysteries of the night, the ferocity of nature, and the cyclical nature of life and death. One of the most striking ways the Almecs honored the jaguar was through the use of elaborate masks. These weren't ordinary masks, they were masterpieces of craftsmanship, carved from jade and other precious materials, designed to transform the wearer into a living embodiment of the jaguar spirit. During rituals, shamans and rulers would don these masks, their human identities temporarily eclipsed as they channeled the jaguar's energy. The dances that followed were hypnotic, a blend of rhythm and movement meant to invoke the jaguar's power, bringing its strength and wisdom into the human realm. These ceremonies weren't just performances, they were acts of communion, a way for the Almecs to tap into the primal forces they believed governed their world. But the jaguar's significance didn't end with masks and dances. In some rituals, the Almecs would offer sacrifices to the jaguar spirit, often in the form of animals or symbolic objects. These sacrifices were seen as a way to appease the jaguar, ensuring its favor and protection. The Almecs believed that the jaguar could traverse the boundaries between worlds, moving freely between the physical realm and the spirit realm. By honoring the jaguar, they sought to harness its ability to navigate these liminal spaces, gaining insight and guidance from the unseen forces that shaped their lives. What's particularly fascinating is how deeply these rituals were tied to the Almec's understanding of nature. The jaguar wasn't just a spiritual symbol, it was a reminder of humanity's place within the natural order. The Almecs saw themselves as part of a larger ecosystem, where every creature, from the smallest insect to the mightiest predator, played a role in maintaining balance. By venerating the jaguar, they acknowledged the interconnectedness of all life, a perspective that feels strikingly modern in its ecological awareness. These rituals also highlight the Olmec's shamanic traditions, where spiritual leaders acted as intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds. Through their connection to the jaguar, shamans could access hidden knowledge, heal the sick, and guide their people through times of crisis. The jaguar, in this context, was more than a symbol. It was a guide, a protector, and a source of profound wisdom. As we reflect on the Olmec's sacred jaguar rituals, it's impossible not to marvel at their deep reverence for the natural world and their ability to find meaning in the wildest corners of existence. But the Olmecs weren't the only ancient civilization to find spirituality in the forces of nature. In the next section, we'll turn our attention to water, a life-giving element that inspired some of the most mesmerizing and mysterious rituals in human history. From ceremonial baths to sacred springs, water held a power that transcended cultures and continents, shaping the spiritual lives of countless peoples across the ages. Along the arid coast of what is now Peru, the Moch civilization flourished between 100 and 800 CE, crafting a society deeply intertwined with the rhythms of water. In a landscape where rain was scarce and the ocean stretched endlessly, water wasn't just a resource, it was a divine force, a life-giver and a destroyer. The Moch understood this duality intimately, and their rituals reflected a profound respect for the power of water, both as a physical necessity and a spiritual conduit. At the heart of Moch spirituality were the deities of the sea and rivers, entities who controlled the flow of life itself. To honor these gods, the Moch performed elaborate ceremonies, often involving intricate offerings. Among the most striking were the finely crafted ceremonial vessels, known as huacos, which depicted scenes of daily life, mythological tales, and the gods themselves. These vessels weren't mere containers, they were sacred objects believed to hold the essence of the offerings they carried. Filled with water, maize beer, or even the blood of sacrificial animals, these huacos were presented to the gods in rituals that sought to ensure fertility, abundance, and protection from the ocean's wrath. Archaeological discoveries at sites like the Huaca de la Luna, or Temple of the Moon, reveal the staggering scale of these rituals. Here, priests and rulers would gather to conduct ceremonies that could last for days, involving music, dance, and the pouring of offerings into specially designed channels that carried them to the sea. The Moch believed that by giving back to the gods, they could maintain the delicate balance of their world. These acts weren't just spiritual gestures, they were acts of survival. In a region where agriculture depended on irrigation from distant rivers, the favor of water deities was essential for the community's prosperity. But the Moch's relationship with water went beyond offerings. Their sophisticated irrigation systems, which channeled water from the Andes to their fields, were marvels of engineering and a testament to their ingenuity. These systems weren't just practical, they were sacred. The canals were seen as extensions of the rivers themselves, imbued with the same divine energy. By maintaining these channels, the Moch weren't just cultivating crops, they were nurturing a spiritual connection to the gods who govern the waters. What makes these rituals so compelling is how they reveal the Moch's ability to find harmony in a harsh environment. In a land where water could be both a blessing and a curse, they developed rituals and technologies that allowed them to thrive. Their ceremonies were acts of reverence, yes, but also acts of resilience, a way of asserting control over forces that could otherwise overwhelm them. As we leave the coastal temples of the Moch, we find ourselves drawn to another elemental force, one equally powerful and transformative. Fire, with its ability to consume and create, held a sacred place in the rituals of countless cultures. From the flickering flames of ancient hearths to the roaring bonfires of ceremonial gatherings, fire's role in human spirituality is as old as civilization itself. But how did ancient peoples harness this primal force, and what secrets did they believe it held? Let's turn our gaze to the next chapter in our exploration of forgotten rituals. Fire has always held a unique place in the human imagination, both a destroyer and a creator, a source of warmth and a symbol of transformation. For the Zoroastrians, an ancient religion that flourished in Persia over 2,500 years ago, fire was far more than a physical element. It was a sacred manifestation of divine wisdom, an eternal light that bridged the human and the divine. At the heart of Zoroastrian spirituality were their fire temples, where priests tended to flames that were never allowed to die, ensuring the continuity of a tradition that still echoes through history. The Zoroastrians saw fire as the purest of all elements, untainted by the imperfections of the material world. It symbolized the light of Ahura Mazda, their supreme god, and the struggle between good and evil that defined their cosmology. In fire temples, or Hgas, the flames were housed in specially designed altars, often surrounded by intricate carvings and inscriptions that celebrated the divine. These temples weren't just places of worship, they were sanctuaries of purity, where the faithful could come to seek guidance, offer prayers, and reconnect with the sacred. Maintaining the eternal flames was a task of utmost importance. Priests, known as Moghs, would perform rituals to keep the fires burning, using only the purest fuels like sandalwood and frankincense. These offerings weren't just acts of devotion, they were acts of preservation, ensuring that the spiritual light of Ahura Mazda would never be extinguished. The flames were believed to carry prayers to the heavens, a direct line of communication between the mortal and the divine. For the Zoroastrians, fire wasn't just a symbol, it was a living connection to the sacred. The influence of these fire ceremonies extended far beyond the temples. Fire became a central metaphor in Persian art, literature, and even governance. Kings and rulers would invoke the sacred flame as a symbol of their divine mandate to rule, while poets and philosophers used it as a metaphor for enlightenment and truth. The eternal flame became a unifying symbol for Persian identity, a reminder of the enduring struggle between light and darkness that shaped their worldview. Even today, remnants of these traditions can be seen in modern Zoroastrian practices, as well as in the cultural fabric of Iran. What's remarkable about these rituals is how they reflect the Zoroastrians' deep understanding of balance and purity. Fire, in their eyes, wasn't just a destructive force, it was a purifier, capable of burning away impurities and revealing the truth beneath. This duality, of creation and destruction, light and shadow resonates with themes found in many other ancient traditions, showing how universal the symbolism of fire truly is. But not all rituals were as gentle as the flickering flames of a sacred fire. In the shadows of history, there were practices far more intense, far more unsettling. As we turn our gaze to the next chapter in our exploration of forgotten rituals, we'll delve into the darker side of ancient spirituality rituals that demanded the ultimate sacrifice, where life itself was offered to the gods. What drove these societies to such extremes, and what can their choices teach us about the human relationship with the divine? The answers may surprise you. In the heart of ancient Mesoamerica, the Aztecs built an empire that thrived on a delicate balance of faith, power, and survival. Central to their world, were rituals so intense, so deeply intertwined with their understanding of life and death, that they continue to captivate and horrify us today. Among these, the practice of human sacrifice stands out not just for its brutality, but for the profound beliefs that underpinned it. To the Aztecs, sacrifice wasn't an act of cruelty, it was a sacred duty, a way of sustaining the cosmos itself. At the core of these rituals was the belief that the gods required nourishment to maintain the world's balance. The Aztecs saw themselves as the chosen people of Huitzilopochtli, the sun god, who needed human blood to rise each day and keep the universe from collapsing into darkness. This belief wasn't abstract, it was woven into every aspect of their lives, from agriculture to warfare. Sacrificial victims, often prisoners of war, were seen as offerings to the gods, their lives given to ensure the sun's continued journey across the sky and the fertility of the land. The most iconic of these ceremonies was the heart extraction ritual, performed atop towering pyramids like the Temple of Abu Ghurab in Tenochtitlan. Victims would be led up the temple steps, their bodies painted and adorned to signify their sacred role. At the summit, priests would use obsidian blades to cut open their chests and remove their still beating hearts, holding them aloft as offerings to the gods. The bodies were then cast down the pyramid steps, a symbolic descent that mirrored the sun's daily journey from zenith to horizon. While these practices may seem shocking, they were deeply rooted in the Aztec worldview. Warfare, for example, wasn't just about conquest. It was a sacred endeavor, a way to capture prisoners for sacrifice and ensure the gods' favor. The Flower Wars, as they were called, were ritualized conflicts fought specifically to obtain sacrificial victims. These battles were as much about spiritual obligation as they were about territorial expansion, illustrating how deeply intertwined religion and politics were in Aztec society. Archaeological evidence from sites like the Temple of Abu Ghurab offers a glimpse into the scale and significance of these rituals. Excavations have uncovered thousands of sacrificial knives, ceremonial altars, and even the remains of victims, some adorned with precious ornaments that suggest they were honored participants in the ceremonies. These findings challenge us to move beyond our initial revulsion and consider the complexity of the Aztec belief system. For them, sacrifice was an act of creation as much as destruction, a way of giving life to sustain life. Yet, as we confront the darker aspects of Aztec spirituality, it's important to remember that these practices weren't unique to them. Many ancient cultures saw sacrifice as a necessary exchange with the divine, a way of maintaining order in a chaotic world. What sets the Aztecs apart is the scale and intensity of their convictions, a testament to the lengths humans will go to make sense of their place in the universe. As we leave the blood-stained altars of Tenochtitlan, let's turn our attention to a different kind of ritual, one that celebrates not death, but rebirth. Across cultures and continents, the cycle of renewal has inspired ceremonies that honor the resilience of life itself. From the spring festivals of Europe to the sacred rites of indigenous peoples, these rituals remind us that even in the face of darkness, there is always the promise of light. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations marked the turning of the seasons and the renewal of the world, weaving hope and regeneration into the fabric of their spiritual lives. High on the island of Crete, surrounded by the shimmering Aegean Sea, the Minoan civilization flourished over 3,500 years ago. Known for their vibrant art, advanced architecture, and enigmatic rituals, the Minoans held a profound connection to the cycles of nature. At the center of their spiritual world was the goddess of fertility and nature, an embodiment of life, death, and renewal. Her presence permeated every aspect of Minoan culture, from the frescoes adorning their palaces to the sacred caves hidden deep within the island's rugged landscape. These caves were more than just natural formations, they were portals to the divine. The Minoans believed that the earth's hollows held the power to regenerate life, much like a womb. In these dark, echoing chambers, they performed rituals of rebirth, leaving behind offerings of pottery, figurines, and animal bones. The act of descending into the caves symbolized a journey into the underworld, a place of transformation where death gave way to new life. Emerging from the caves was seen as a symbolic reawakening, a return to the world above, renewed and purified. These ceremonies weren't just about honoring the goddess, they were about reaffirming the Minoans' place in the eternal cycle of existence. One of the most striking expressions of this belief was the bull leaping ceremony, a ritual that combined athleticism, artistry, and spirituality. In the grand courtyards of their palaces, young men and women would perform daring acrobatics, leaping over the backs of charging bulls. This wasn't merely a test of skill or bravery, it was a symbolic act of overcoming chaos and embracing order. The bull, a powerful and untamed creature, represented the raw forces of nature. By mastering it, the participants demonstrated humanity's ability to harmonize with the natural world, transforming danger into beauty and chaos into balance. These performances were deeply tied to the Minoans' cyclical worldview, where life and death were seen as two sides of the same coin, each necessary for the other's existence. Artifacts found in Minoan sites further illuminate their rituals of rebirth. Snake goddess figurines, with their coiled serpents and open arms, evoke themes of renewal and healing, while double axes, or labrises, symbolize the duality of creation and destruction. These objects weren't just decorative, they were tools of spiritual practice, imbued with meaning that connected the Minoans to their gods and to each other. Even their pottery, adorned with motifs of spirals and waves, echoed the rhythms of nature, reminding the Minoans of the endless cycles that governed their lives. What makes these rituals so compelling is how they reflect the Minoans' optimism and resilience. In a world where life could be fragile and unpredictable, they found solace in the belief that every ending was also a beginning. Their ceremonies weren't just about mourning loss, they were about celebrating the promise of renewal. This perspective shaped not only their spiritual practices, but also their art, architecture, and daily lives, creating a culture that thrived on hope and harmony. As we step away from the sunlit courtyards and shadowy caves of Crete, we're reminded that rituals of rebirth often transcend the physical, finding expression in movement and sound. Across cultures, music and dance have served as powerful tools for transformation, allowing people to connect with the divine and with one another. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations used rhythm and melody to bridge the gap between the earthly and the sacred, turning the act of performance into a profound spiritual experience. In the misty highlands and dense forests of ancient Europe, the Celts wove their spiritual lives into the rhythms of the natural world. Among their most captivating practices were the drumming rituals, a powerful blend of music, movement, and mysticism that served as a bridge between the earthly realm and the spirit world. For the Celts, drums weren't just instruments, they were conduits of divine energy, capable of summoning the gods, communing with ancestors, and uniting communities in shared purpose. At the heart of these ceremonies were the bards and druids, the keepers of Celtic wisdom and tradition. Bards, often traveling poets and musicians, carried the stories of their people in song, their drums echoing the heartbeat of the land. Druids, on the other hand, were the spiritual leaders, conducting rituals that aligned with the cycles of the moon, the sun, and the seasons. Together, they created a vibrant tapestry of sound and symbolism, using drumming to invoke the sacred and guide their people through life's transitions. The drums themselves were instruments of profound significance. Often made from animal hides stretched over wooden frames, they were believed to carry the spirit of the animal, infusing the music with its power. The rhythms played during rituals weren't random, they were carefully crafted to mirror the natural world, the pulse of a heartbeat, the crash of waves, the rustle of leaves in the wind. These patterns weren't just heard, they were felt, reverberating through the bodies of participants and drawing them into a collective trance. In this state, the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds blurred, allowing the Celts to connect with deities, ancestors, and the forces of nature. These drumming rituals were deeply tied to the Celtic calendar, which revolved around seasonal festivals like Samhain, Beltane, and Imbolc. During Samhain, the festival marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, drumming ceremonies would honor the dead, their rhythms guiding spirits back to the mortal realm for a brief reunion. At Beltane, which celebrated the arrival of spring, drums would beat in time with the burgeoning life around them, their cadence mirroring the fertility of the land. These festivals weren't just spiritual events, they were communal gatherings that reinforced social bonds and reaffirmed the Celts' connection to the cycles of life and death. What's striking about these practices is how they reveal the Celts' holistic worldview. Music wasn't separate from spirituality or daily life, it was woven into the fabric of their existence. The drumming rituals served as a reminder that everything was interconnected: the seasons, the land, the people, and the divine. Even today, echoes of these traditions can be found in modern Celtic music and festivals, a testament to their enduring power. As we leave the echoing drums of the ancient Celts, we're reminded that sound isn't the only way to connect with the sacred. Across cultures, plants have held a special place in spiritual practices, their roots, leaves, and flowers imbued with divine energy. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations used sacred plants to commune with the gods, heal the sick, and unlock the mysteries of the unseen world. From the fragrant herbs of the Mediterranean to the hallucinogenic vines of the Amazon, these rituals reveal a deep reverence for the natural world and its hidden powers. Deep within the lush rainforests of the Amazon, where the canopy stretches endlessly and the air hums with the sounds of life, ancient tribes have long practiced rituals that blur the line between the physical and the spiritual. At the heart of these ceremonies lies Ayahuasca, a potent brew made from the Banisteriopsis caapi vine and other plants. To the uninitiated, it might seem like just another hallucinogen, but to the Amazonian tribes, it is a sacred gateway to the divine, a tool for healing, wisdom, and communion with the cosmos. The preparation of Ayahuasca is itself a ritual, steeped in tradition and reverence. Shamans, or curanderos, carefully select and combine the ingredients, infusing the brew with chants and prayers. This process is more than just chemistry. It's an act of devotion, a way of calling upon the spirits of the plants to lend their power. When consumed, the brew induces vivid visions, often described as journeys into other realms. Participants might encounter spirit guides, confront their deepest fears, or gain profound insights into their lives and the universe. These experiences are not seen as mere hallucinations, but as real encounters with the sacred, offering guidance, healing, and transformation. For the tribes, these rituals serve multiple purposes. On a personal level, Ayahuasca ceremonies are used for healing, both physical and emotional. Shamans believe that many illnesses, especially those rooted in trauma or spiritual imbalance, can be cured by addressing their underlying causes in the spirit world. The brew acts as a purgative, cleansing the body and mind, while the visions provide clarity and resolution. On a communal level, these ceremonies strengthen social bonds, as participants share their experiences and support one another through the challenges of the journey. But the significance of Ayahuasca goes even deeper. For the Amazonian tribes, it is a way of understanding the cosmos and humanity's place within it. The visions experienced during ceremonies often reveal the interconnectedness of all life, reinforcing the tribe's belief in the unity of nature. This perspective is reflected in their daily lives, from their sustainable farming practices to their respect for the forest as a living, sacred entity. In a world increasingly disconnected from nature, these rituals offer a reminder of the profound wisdom that comes from seeing ourselves as part of a greater whole. As we reflect on the transformative power of Ayahuasca, it's impossible not to marvel at the depth of these traditions and their ability to bridge the seen and the unseen. But the Amazonian tribes aren't the only ones who have turned to the natural world for spiritual insight. From the sacred stones of ancient cultures to the towering monoliths that dot our landscapes, the earth itself has long been a source of reverence and mystery. In the next section, we'll explore how civilizations across the globe have used stones not just as tools or markers, but as conduits to the divine, each one a testament to humanity's enduring quest for connection and understanding. Scattered across the landscapes of ancient Europe, massive stone circles rise like silent sentinels, their origins shrouded in mystery. Among the most famous is Stonehenge, a prehistoric monument in England that has captured imaginations for centuries. But these structures weren't just feats of engineering. They were the stages for rituals that connected Neolithic peoples to the cosmos, their communities, and the divine. The stones, arranged with astonishing precision, seem to whisper secrets of a time when humans sought to make sense of the heavens above and the earth below. One of the most compelling aspects of these stone circles is their alignment with celestial events. Stonehenge, for example, is carefully positioned so that the rising sun during the summer solstice aligns perfectly with the heel stone, casting its light directly into the heart of the circle. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a deliberate act of astronomical observation, reflecting the Neolithic people's deep understanding of the sky. They likely used these alignments to mark the changing seasons, guiding agricultural activities like planting and harvesting. The solstices and equinoxes weren't just dates on a calendar. They were sacred moments, celebrated with rituals that honored the cycles of nature and the gods who governed them. But these stone circles weren't just astronomical tools. They were also places of profound spiritual significance. Imagine the scene. As the sun rose on the longest day of the year, hundreds of people would gather at Stonehenge, their voices rising in chants, their movements synchronized in ceremonial dances. These gatherings weren't just about marking the passage of time. They were about reaffirming social bonds and collective identity. In a world without written records, these rituals served as a way to pass down knowledge, traditions, and values from one generation to the next. The stones themselves, standing tall and unyielding, became symbols of continuity and permanence in an ever-changing world. Theories about the purpose of these rituals are as varied as the stones themselves. Some suggest they were used for healing, with the stones believed to possess mystical energies. Others propose they were sites of ancestral worship, where the living could commune with the dead. What's clear is that these ceremonies were deeply rooted in the Neolithic worldview, where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual were fluid. The stones, arranged in circles, may have represented the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, a theme that resonates across many ancient cultures. What's truly remarkable is the sheer effort it took to create these monuments. Transporting and erecting stones weighing several tons required not only advanced engineering skills, but also a unified community, working together toward a shared vision. This collaboration likely extended to the rituals themselves, which would have required careful planning, coordination, and participation. In this way, the stone circles were more than just places of worship. They were symbols of human ingenuity and cooperation, testaments to the power of collective effort. As we stand among these ancient stones, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe at the mysteries they hold. But while the Neolithic peoples used stones to mark the heavens and honor the divine, other civilizations turned to a different medium to capture their spiritual beliefs, the written word. From sacred texts to inscribed tablets, writing became a way to preserve and transmit the wisdom of the gods. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient cultures used sacred writing to connect with the divine, creating rituals that transformed words into bridges between the earthly and the eternal. In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, where the Nile's life-giving waters met the endless desert, a civilization thrived that saw the written word as something far more than mere communication. Hieroglyphs, those intricate symbols carved into temple walls, painted on tomb ceilings, and etched into sacred scrolls, were not just letters to the Egyptians. They were a divine language, a bridge between the mortal and the immortal, a tool to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos and ensure eternal life. To the ancient Egyptians, hieroglyphs were alive, pulsating with magical energy that could shape reality itself. At the heart of this belief was the concept of Heka, the magical force that permeated the universe. Hieroglyphs, when inscribed by skilled scribes and priests, were believed to harness this power, transforming words into spells that could protect, heal, and guide. These sacred writings were everywhere, adorning the walls of temples, the sarcophagi of pharaohs, and the papyrus scrolls buried with the dead. Each symbol, whether it depicted a bird, a reed, or a god, was more than an image. It was a vessel for divine energy. When a priest recited the words inscribed in hieroglyphs, it was thought to awaken the magic within them, invoking the gods and ensuring their favor. One of the most famous examples of this practice is found in the pyramid texts, a collection of spells and prayers carved into the walls of royal tombs during the Old Kingdom. These texts were designed to protect the pharaoh in the afterlife, guiding them through the perilous journey to the realm of Osiris. They describe rituals, incantations, and even dialogues with gods, all meant to secure the pharaoh's place among the stars. The hieroglyphs themselves were often accompanied by images of the gods, their presence reinforcing the power of the words. Together, they formed a tapestry of protection, a spiritual armor for the soul. But hieroglyphs weren't reserved solely for the elite. The coffin texts, which emerged during the Middle Kingdom, brought these magical writings to a broader audience, offering ordinary Egyptians the chance to navigate the afterlife with divine guidance. These texts, inscribed on coffins and funerary objects, contained spells to ward off demons, navigate the underworld, and even transform the deceased into divine beings. The hieroglyphs were a lifeline, a way for the living to ensure their loved ones' safe passage to the next world. What's fascinating is how deeply these rituals were tied to the Egyptians' understanding of existence. They believed that life and death were part of a continuous cycle, and that the written word could influence both realms. Hieroglyphs were more than symbols; they were tools of creation, capable of shaping reality and ensuring harmony between the earthly and the divine. This belief extended beyond the afterlife, influencing daily life as well. Amulets inscribed with hieroglyphs were worn for protection, while spells written on papyrus could heal the sick or bring good fortune. The power of the written word was woven into every aspect of Egyptian culture. As we marvel at the artistry and ingenuity of these ancient inscriptions, we're reminded that the Egyptians saw language as more than a means of communication. It was a force of creation, a way to connect with the gods and shape destiny. But while hieroglyphs were a central part of their spiritual practices, they weren't the only way the Egyptians sought to bridge the gap between the human and the divine. In the next section, we'll explore another powerful tool in their spiritual arsenal: sacred masks. These enigmatic objects, worn by priests and pharaohs alike, transformed the wearer into a living embodiment of the gods, blurring the line between the mortal and the immortal in ways that continue to captivate us today. In the heart of what is now the American Midwest, the Hopewell culture flourished over 2,000 years ago, leaving behind a legacy as intricate as the ceremonial masks they crafted. These masks, often made from materials like wood, copper, and even human bone, were far more than decorative objects. They were sacred instruments, believed to transform the wearer into a vessel for ancestral spirits, bridging the gap between the living and the dead. For the Hopewell, these rituals weren't just acts of devotion. They were a way to maintain harmony within their communities and ensure the guidance of those who came before. The craftsmanship of these masks is nothing short of extraordinary. Artisans would painstakingly carve wood into delicate, expressive forms, sometimes inlaid with shimmering copper or adorned with intricate engravings. Some masks were even crafted from human remains, a practice that underscores the Hopewell's profound connection to their ancestors. These materials weren't chosen at random; each held symbolic significance. Copper, for example, was prized for its rarity and its radiant, almost otherworldly sheen, believed to capture the light of the spirit world. The masks themselves often depicted humanoid faces, their features exaggerated or abstracted, as if to convey the presence of something beyond the physical. During ceremonies, these masks would be worn by shamans or other spiritual leaders, their identities temporarily eclipsed as they channeled the spirits of the dead. The rituals often took place in large earthen enclosures, known as earthworks, which were carefully aligned with celestial events like solstices or lunar cycles. These gatherings weren't just spiritual events; they were communal experiences, drawing people from far and wide to participate in dances, chants, and offerings. The masks, glowing in the firelight, became focal points of these ceremonies, their eerie beauty captivating all who witnessed them. For the Hopewell, these moments were a way to reaffirm their collective identity, binding the community together through shared reverence for their ancestors. What's particularly fascinating is how these rituals reveal the Hopewell's understanding of interconnectedness. They saw no hard division between the living and the dead. the physical and the spiritual. By donning these masks, they believed they could tap into the wisdom of their ancestors, seeking guidance for everything from agricultural cycles to social conflicts. The masks weren't just tools of transformation, they were conduits for communication, allowing the living to speak with those who had crossed into the spirit world. This belief in the continuity of existence shaped every aspect of Hopewell life, from their art to their architecture. As we reflect on the Hopewell's masked rituals, it's impossible not to marvel at their ingenuity and depth of belief. But while masks were one way to connect with the spiritual realm, other cultures turned to the animal kingdom for guidance and inspiration. From the sacred jaguars of the Almecs to the revered eagles of Native American tribes, animals have long played a central role in human spirituality. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations saw animals not just as fellow creatures, but as messengers, protectors, and embodiments of the divine. These rituals remind us that the natural world has always been a source of wonder and wisdom, offering insights into the mysteries of existence itself. High in the mountains of Epidaurus, where the air is crisp and the scent of wild herbs lingers, the ancient Greeks built sanctuaries to Asclepius, the god of healing. At the heart of these sacred spaces was a symbol that might seem unexpected to modern eyes: the snake. Far from being feared, snakes were revered in these temples, their presence central to rituals that sought to cure the sick and restore balance to the body and soul. For the Greeks, the snake was more than a creature. It was a living embodiment of healing, transformation, and the cyclical nature of life. The connection between snakes and Asclepius was deeply symbolic. Snakes shed their skin, a process seen as a powerful metaphor for renewal and rebirth. This made them the perfect companions for a god whose domain was health and restoration. In the temples dedicated to Asclepius, live snakes were often kept and allowed to roam freely among the sick and injured. These snakes, known as Asclepian snakes, were believed to carry the god's healing power. As they slithered over the bodies of the afflicted, it was thought that their touch could transfer divine energy, curing ailments and purifying the spirit. The act wasn't just physical, it was a deeply spiritual experience, blending the boundaries between the mortal and the divine. One of the most intriguing aspects of these rituals was the practice of incubation. Patients seeking healing would sleep in the temple's sacred spaces, often in chambers filled with the presence of snakes. As they slept, they hoped to receive visions or dreams from Asclepius himself, offering guidance or even direct healing. These dreams were interpreted by priests, who prescribed treatments based on the divine messages. The process wasn't just about curing physical ailments, it was about addressing the mind and spirit as well, reflecting a holistic approach to health that feels strikingly modern. The influence of these rituals extended far beyond the temples. Asclepius's connection to snakes became a lasting symbol in Greek medicine, with the staff entwined by a serpent, known as the rod of Asclepius, remaining an emblem of healing to this day. The practices at these sanctuaries also laid the groundwork for early medical knowledge, blending spirituality with practical observation. Priests documented the symptoms and treatments of those who sought help, creating a body of knowledge that would influence Greek physicians like Hippocrates, often regarded as the father of medicine. But the snake's role in Greek spirituality wasn't limited to healing. It also represented wisdom and transformation, qualities that resonated deeply in a culture that valued knowledge and self-improvement. In myths, snakes were often associated with oracles and prophetic visions, further cementing their place as intermediaries between the human and divine realms. This dual role, as both healer and guide, made the snake a powerful symbol, one that continues to captivate us. As we leave the sacred temples of Asclepius, it's impossible not to marvel at the enduring legacy of these rituals. They remind us that healing is as much about the soul as it is about the body, and that transformation often begins with shedding what no longer serves us. But while snakes were revered for their connection to renewal, other elements of nature also held sacred significance. In the next section, we'll turn our attention to the towering trees that stood at the heart of many ancient rituals, their roots reaching deep into the earth and their branches stretching toward the heavens. From sacred groves to oracular trees, these natural wonders were seen as living bridges between the mortal and the divine, offering wisdom and protection to those who sought their shelter. In the ancient forests of Europe, where sunlight filtered through towering canopies and the air was thick with the scent of earth and leaves, the Druids found their sanctuaries. To these Celtic spiritual leaders, trees were more than just plants. They were living embodiments of the divine, their roots anchored in the earth and their branches reaching toward the heavens. Among all trees, the oak held a place of unparalleled reverence. Known as the king of the forest, the oak symbolized strength, wisdom, and the enduring cycle of life. For the Druids, these sacred trees were not just part of the natural world, they were portals to the spiritual realm, central to rituals that connected the community to the gods and the rhythms of nature. The Druids' rituals often took place in groves of oak trees, known as nemeton. These groves were not chosen at random, they were carefully selected for their beauty, their isolation, and their perceived spiritual energy. Within these spaces, the Druids conducted ceremonies that marked the turning of the seasons, celebrated celestial events, and sought divine guidance. The oak itself was believed to be a conduit for cosmic energy, its towering presence a reminder of the interconnectedness of all life. During rituals, offerings of mistletoe, a plant that grows on oak trees and was considered especially sacred, were made to honor the gods and ensure their favor. The act of harvesting mistletoe was itself a ritual, performed with golden sickles and accompanied by chants and prayers. This meticulous process reflected the Druids' belief that every action, no matter how small, carried spiritual significance. The symbolic meanings of trees extended far beyond the oak. Each species held its own sacred associations. The yew, with its long lifespan and evergreen nature, was a symbol of immortality and the afterlife, often planted near burial sites. The hazel was associated with wisdom and inspiration, its nuts believed to hold the secrets of the universe. The rowan, with its bright red berries, was thought to ward off evil spirits and protect the community. Together, these trees formed a sacred tapestry, each one contributing to the Druids' understanding of the natural and spiritual worlds. The forest itself became a living temple, a place where the boundaries between the physical and the divine blurred. What's particularly striking about these practices is how deeply they were rooted in environmental stewardship. The Druids saw themselves as guardians of the natural world, responsible for maintaining its balance and harmony. Their reverence for trees wasn't just spiritual, it was ecological. By protecting the forests, they ensured the survival of their communities, relying on the trees for food, shelter, and medicine. This holistic approach to spirituality and sustainability feels remarkably relevant today, offering a timeless reminder of humanity's interconnectedness with nature. As we step out of the shadowy groves of the Druids, we find ourselves drawn to another natural wonder that has inspired awe and reverence across cultures: the sacred mountain. Towering above the landscape, mountains have long been seen as bridges between the earth and the sky, places where the human and the divine meet. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations turned to these majestic peaks as sites of worship, pilgrimage, and transformation, their rituals reflecting a deep respect for the power and mystery of the natural world. From the snow-capped heights of the Andes to the rugged slopes of the Himalayas, these sacred mountains remind us that the quest for connection and understanding is as old as humanity itself. High in the Andes, where the air thins and the earth seems to touch the sky, the Inca civilization built an empire that revered the mountains as gods. To the Inca, these towering peaks were not just part of the landscape, they were living deities, known as appease, who governed the natural world and held the power to bless or curse their people. The rituals surrounding these sacred mountains were integral to Inca life, shaping everything from agriculture to politics, and they continue to captivate us today for their blend of spirituality, practicality, and sheer audacity. The most striking of these rituals were the high-altitude pilgrimages to mountain shrines, often located at dizzying heights above 15,000 feet. Imagine the scene: a procession of priests, nobles, and commoners ascending steep, rocky trails, braving freezing temperatures and thin air to reach a sacred summit. These journeys were not undertaken lightly. They were acts of devotion, endurance, and profound symbolism. At the summit, offerings were made to the appease gold, silver, textiles, and even the lives of children, chosen for their purity and believed to become messengers to the gods. These sacrifices, known as kapakacha, were seen as essential to maintaining harmony between the human and divine realms. The Inca believed that by giving their most precious resources, they could ensure the appease favor, securing rain, fertile crops, and the stability of their empire. Archaeological discoveries have shed light on these practices, revealing the extraordinary lengths to which the Inca went to honor their mountain deities. On peaks like Llullaillaco in Argentina and Ambato in Peru, researchers have found remarkably preserved offerings and mummified remains, their faces serene and their bodies adorned with intricate textiles and ornaments. These findings suggest that the kapakacha rituals were highly organized events, involving meticulous preparation and a deep understanding of the sacred landscape. The placement of offerings was deliberate, often aligned with celestial events like solstices or equinoxes, reflecting the Incas' sophisticated knowledge of astronomy and their belief in the interconnectedness of the cosmos. But these rituals were about more than spirituality. They were also deeply political. The Inca emperor, or Sapa Inca, was seen as the son of the sun god Inti, and his authority was intertwined with the will of the appease. By conducting these ceremonies, the Sapa Inca demonstrated his divine right to rule and his ability to mediate between the gods and his people. The pilgrimages also served to unify the empire, bringing together diverse communities under a shared spiritual framework. In this way, the mountain rituals were not just acts of faith, they were tools of governance, reinforcing the Incas' power and cohesion. What's truly remarkable is how these practices reveal the Incas' holistic worldview. The mountains were not separate from their daily lives, they were central to it. The appease influenced everything from the weather to the fertility of the soil, and by honoring them, the Inca believed they could ensure the prosperity of their civilization. This deep respect for the natural world is a theme that resonates across many ancient cultures, reminding us of humanity's enduring quest to find meaning and connection in the forces that shape our lives. As we descend from the icy summits of the Andes, we find ourselves drawn to another sacred space, one hidden deep within the earth. Just as mountains connected the Inca to the heavens, Caves have long been seen as portals to the underworld, places of mystery and transformation. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations used these dark, echoing chambers to commune with the divine, uncovering rituals that reveal a profound reverence for the hidden depths of existence. From the shadowy grottos of Crete to the subterranean sanctuaries of the Americas, these sacred caves offer a glimpse into humanity's timeless fascination with the unknown. Deep within the shadowy depths of Europe's most ancient caves, the Paleolithic peoples left behind a legacy that continues to mystify and inspire. Tens of thousands of years ago, these early humans ventured into the underground world, not merely for shelter, but to create sacred spaces where they could connect with forces beyond their understanding. The walls of these caves became their canvas, adorned with breathtaking art that captures the essence of their spiritual lives. From the hauntingly beautiful depictions of animals in Lascaux to the enigmatic handprints in Chauvet, these images are more than just art, they are windows into the rituals and beliefs of our earliest ancestors. The creation of cave art was no simple task. Using natural pigments like ochre and charcoal, Paleolithic artists painted by the flickering light of torches, carefully crafting images that seemed to come alive in the dancing shadows. These paintings weren't random, they were deeply symbolic, often featuring animals like bison, horses, and mammoths, creatures that were central to their survival. The positioning of these images was equally deliberate. Many were placed in the deepest, most inaccessible parts of the caves, suggesting that these spaces were reserved for sacred ceremonies. Some scholars believe that entering these dark chambers was itself a ritual, a journey into the underworld where the boundaries between the human and the divine blurred. But what was the purpose of these rituals? For the Paleolithic peoples, caves were more than just physical spaces. They were liminal zones, thresholds between the known and the unknown. The darkness and isolation of the caves created an atmosphere of mystery and transformation, perfect for ceremonies that sought to connect with the spirits of animals, ancestors, or even the earth itself. Shamans or spiritual leaders may have used these spaces to enter altered states of consciousness, aided by rhythmic drumming, chanting, or even hallucinogenic substances. In this state, they could commune with the spiritual realm, seeking guidance, healing, or visions of the hunt. The cultural significance of these rituals cannot be overstated. They were not just personal acts of devotion, they were communal events that reinforced social bonds and shared beliefs. The act of creating art together or participating in ceremonies would have strengthened the cohesion of the group, ensuring their survival in a harsh and unpredictable world. These rituals also reflect a profound respect for the natural world. The animals depicted in cave art were not just food sources, they were spiritual allies, revered for their strength, beauty, and life-giving power. By honoring them, the Paleolithic peoples acknowledged their interconnectedness with the environment, a perspective that feels strikingly modern in its ecological awareness. What's truly remarkable is how these ancient practices continue to resonate with us today. The caves and their art remind us of humanity's enduring quest to understand the mysteries of existence and our place within the cosmos. They are a testament to the creativity, resilience, and spiritual depth of our ancestors, offering a glimpse into the origins of human culture and belief. As we emerge from the shadowy depths of these ancient caves, we find ourselves drawn to another element that held sacred significance for early civilizations: metals. From the gleaming gold of the pharaohs to the shimmering bronze of ancient warriors, metals were more than just tools or ornaments, they were conduits to the divine. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient cultures turned to sacred metals to forge connections with the gods, crafting objects of power and beauty that continue to captivate us today. From ritualistic smelting to the creation of ceremonial artifacts, these practices reveal a deep reverence for the transformative power of fire and metal, and the divine forces they represented. In the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where the ancient Mesopotamian civilization thrived, metalworking was far more than a craft. It was a sacred act imbued with spiritual significance and divine purpose. For the Mesopotamians, metals like gold, silver, and bronze were not just materials. They were gifts from the gods, symbols of power, and conduits to the divine. The creation of sacred objects and weapons was a ritualistic process, one that blended artistry, spirituality, and technological innovation in ways that shaped the very fabric of their society. The Mesopotamians believed that the gods themselves had taught humanity the secrets of metalworking. In their myths, deities like Enki, the god of wisdom and craftsmanship, were credited with imparting the knowledge of smelting and forging. This divine origin elevated metalworking to a sacred act, with every hammer strike and molten pour seen as a collaboration between the human and the divine. Temples, the heart of Mesopotamian cities, were often the sites of these rituals. Here, skilled artisans, under the guidance of priests, would craft objects of worship, statues of gods, ceremonial vessels, and intricate jewelry, each piece a testament to their devotion and skill. The metals themselves were carefully chosen, with gold symbolizing the sun's brilliance and immortality, silver representing the moon's purity, and bronze embodying strength and endurance. But the significance of these metals extended beyond the spiritual. In the hands of Mesopotamian rulers, they became tools of political power. Kings and queens adorned themselves with gold crowns and jewelry, not just as displays of wealth, but as symbols of their divine right to rule. Weapons, too, were imbued with sacred meaning. Swords and spears, often inlaid with precious metals and inscribed with prayers, were believed to carry the blessings of the gods, ensuring victory in battle. The famous Standard of Ur, a mosaic of lapis lazuli, shell, and red limestone, depicts scenes of war and peace, highlighting the dual role of metals as instruments of both conflict and prosperity. The technological advancements of Mesopotamian metalworking were equally remarkable. Their mastery of alloys, particularly bronze, revolutionized tool-making and warfare, giving rise to the Bronze Age. Furnaces, crucibles, and molds discovered in archaeological sites reveal a sophisticated understanding of metallurgy, with techniques that were passed down through generations. These innovations weren't just practical, they were deeply tied to their worldview. The process of transforming raw ore into gleaming objects mirrored the Mesopotamians' belief in transformation and order, reflecting their efforts to bring harmony to a chaotic world. What's fascinating is how these rituals reveal the interconnectedness of Mesopotamian life. Metalworking wasn't confined to the realm of the elite. It was a communal endeavor that involved miners, smelters, artisans, and priests, each playing a role in the creation of sacred objects. This collaboration reinforced social bonds and shared values, weaving metalworking into the cultural fabric of their civilization. Even today, the legacy of these practices endures, as we marvel at the intricate artifacts unearthed from Mesopotamian ruins, each one a testament to their ingenuity, devotion, and reverence for the divine. As we reflect on the sacred craft of metalworking, we're reminded that the Mesopotamians saw the divine not just in the heavens, but in the very materials of the earth. But while metals held a place of honor in their rituals, Another medium played an equally vital role in connecting the human and the divine: textiles. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations wove sacred threads into their spiritual lives, creating garments and tapestries that told stories, honored the gods, and bound communities together in shared purpose. From the loom to the temple, these rituals reveal the enduring power of fabric as a bridge between the earthly and the eternal. In the high-altitude world of the Andes, where the air is thin and the landscape stretches endlessly, the ancient Andean peoples wove more than just fabric. They wove their very souls into their textiles. For civilizations like the Inca, the Wari, and the Nazca, textiles were far more than practical items. They were sacred creations, imbued with spiritual power and cultural meaning. Every thread, every color, and every intricate pattern told a story, connecting the weaver to their ancestors, their gods, and the cosmos itself. To the Andean peoples, textiles were not just art. They were a language, a ritual, and a bridge between the earthly and the divine. At the heart of Andean textile rituals was the quipu, a complex system of knotted cords that served as a record-keeping tool and a sacred object. But beyond the quipu, the creation of textiles itself was a deeply spiritual act. Weaving was often performed by women, who were seen as guardians of this sacred craft. The process began with the careful selection of materials: alpaca and vicuña wool, cotton, and even feathers, each chosen for its symbolic properties. The act of spinning thread was itself a ritual, accompanied by chants and prayers to ensure the fabric's spiritual potency. The loom, often considered a microcosm of the universe, became a sacred space where the weaver could commune with the gods and channel their energy into the cloth. The patterns and colors woven into these textiles were anything but random. Geometric designs, often inspired by the natural world, carried profound symbolic meanings. Zigzags might represent lightning or the flow of water, while stepped patterns evoked the terraced fields of the Andes or the sacred mountains. Colors, too, were laden with significance. Red symbolized life and vitality, black represented the underworld, and white stood for purity and the heavens. Together, these elements transformed each textile into a tapestry of spiritual and cosmological meaning, a visual prayer that connected the wearer or the offering to the divine. Textiles also played a central role in Andean rituals and ceremonies. Sacred garments, such as tunics and mantles, were worn by priests and rulers during religious events, their intricate designs signifying their divine authority. Offerings of textiles were made to the gods, often buried with the dead or burned in sacrificial fires to ensure their passage to the afterlife. In some cases, textiles were used as currency, exchanged in rituals of reciprocity that reinforced social bonds and communal harmony. Even in everyday life, textiles were a way to express identity, rank, and belonging, with distinct styles and patterns marking different regions and social groups. What's truly remarkable is how these practices reveal the Andean people's holistic worldview. Textiles were not just objects, they were living expressions of their culture, spirituality, and connection to the natural world. The act of weaving was a way to honor the earth, the ancestors, and the gods, creating something that was both beautiful and deeply meaningful. Even today, the legacy of Andean textile traditions endures, as modern artisans continue to weave with the same reverence and skill as their ancestors. As we marvel at the artistry and symbolism of Andean textiles, we're reminded that the sacred can be found in the most ordinary of objects. But while textiles connected the Andean peoples to the divine, another element, food, played an equally vital role in their rituals. From ceremonial feasts to sacred offerings, food was more than sustenance. It was a way to commune with the gods and celebrate the cycles of life. In the next section, we'll explore how ancient civilizations used food in their spiritual practices, uncovering rituals that nourished both body and soul. From the sacred corn of the Americas to the ritual breads of the Mediterranean, these traditions reveal the enduring power of food as a bridge between the human and the divine. In the heart of ancient China, where the rhythms of life were guided by the cycles of the seasons and the wisdom of ancestors, food was far more than sustenance. It was a bridge between the living and the divine. The Chinese civilization perfected rituals of food offerings, turning everyday meals into sacred acts of reverence and connection. These rituals weren't just about feeding the gods or ancestors. They were about maintaining harmony, ensuring prosperity, and honoring the delicate balance between heaven, earth, and humanity. At the center of these practices were the ancestral altars, found in homes and temples across the land. These altars were more than mere tables. They were portals to the spiritual realm, where the living could communicate with those who had passed on. Families would carefully prepare and present offerings of food, often including rice, wine, and delicacies like roasted meats, fruits, and sweet cakes. Each item was chosen not just for its taste, but for its symbolic meaning. Rice, a staple of Chinese life, represented abundance and fertility. Wine symbolized joy and celebration, while fruits like oranges and peaches conveyed wishes for longevity and good fortune. Even the arrangement of the food mattered, with dishes often placed in specific patterns to align with cosmic principles like yin and yang. The act of offering food was deeply personal and communal. Families would gather around the altar, lighting incense and bowing in respect as they presented the offerings. This wasn't a one-way transaction, it was a conversation. The belief was that the ancestors or deities would partake of the food's essence, leaving behind their blessings in return. These rituals were especially significant during festivals like the Lunar New Year or the Qingming Festival, when the connection between the living and the dead was believed to be at its strongest. Through these offerings, the Chinese sought to ensure the well-being of their ancestors in the afterlife, while also securing their own prosperity and protection. But the significance of these rituals extended far beyond the family altar. In imperial China, food offerings played a central role in state ceremonies, reinforcing the emperor's divine mandate to rule. Elaborate banquets were held in honor of heaven and earth, with dishes meticulously prepared to reflect the harmony of the cosmos. The emperor himself would often lead these ceremonies, acting as the intermediary between the human and divine realms. These grand rituals weren't just about power, they were about responsibility. The emperor's ability to maintain harmony with the gods was seen as essential to the stability and prosperity of the empire. What's fascinating is how these practices reveal the Chinese worldview. Food wasn't just a physical necessity, it was a spiritual tool, a way to connect with the forces that shaped their world. The rituals of offering food were deeply rooted in the Confucian values of filial piety and respect for tradition, as well as the Taoist and Buddhist beliefs in the interconnectedness of all life. Even today, these traditions endure, with families across China continuing to honor their ancestors and deities through food offerings, ensuring that the bonds between the past, present, and future remain unbroken. As we reflect on the profound symbolism and cultural richness of these rituals, it's impossible not to marvel at how food became a medium for spiritual connection. But while the Chinese used food to bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine, other civilizations turned to movement and rhythm to achieve the same goal. In the next section, we'll explore how sacred dance became a universal language of the soul, uniting communities and connecting them to the divine through the power of motion and music. From the swirling dervishes of the Middle East to the ceremonial dances of indigenous peoples, these rituals remind us that the human body itself can be a sacred instrument, capable of expressing the inexpressible and transcending the boundaries of the mundane. In the sprawling cities of the ancient Indus Valley, where the rhythms of life were as intricate as the patterns on their famous seals, dance held a place of profound significance. This civilization, one of the world's earliest, flourished along the banks of the Indus River over 4,000 years ago, leaving behind a legacy of art and culture that continues to captivate us. Among their many achievements, the Indus Valley people had a unique relationship with dance not just as entertainment, but as a sacred act that wove together their spiritual, social, and artistic lives. Through the artifacts they left behind, we catch glimpses of a society that moved to the pulse of the divine, using dance to celebrate, connect, and transcend. One of the most striking pieces of evidence comes from the small, intricately crafted figurines unearthed at sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. These figurines, often depicting dancers in mid-motion, reveal a deep appreciation for the human form and its expressive potential. With arms gracefully extended and bodies poised in dynamic poses, these figures seem to capture the very essence of movement. Some scholars believe these dancers were not just ordinary performers but participants in sacred rituals, their movements designed to honor deities, mark seasonal changes, or celebrate communal milestones. The fluidity and precision of their poses suggest that dance was not a casual pastime, but a highly skilled and revered practice, integral to the spiritual and cultural fabric of the Indus Valley. Dance in the Indus Valley likely served multiple purposes. On one level, it was a form of communal celebration, bringing people together in shared moments of joy and unity. Festivals and ceremonies would have been vibrant, lively affairs, with music, drums, and rhythmic clapping accompanying the dancers as they moved in harmony. These gatherings weren't just social events, they were acts of collective expression, reinforcing the bonds that held the community together. In a civilization known for its advanced urban planning and egalitarian values, dance may have also been a way to bridge social divides, creating a sense of belonging that transcended individual differences. But dance was more than just a social activity, it was a spiritual practice. The Indus Valley people, like many ancient cultures, saw the body as a vessel for divine energy, and dance as a way to channel that energy. Through rhythmic movement, dancers could enter altered states of consciousness, connecting with the gods or ancestral spirits. Some artifacts suggest that these rituals may have been tied to fertility rites or agricultural cycles, with dancers invoking blessings for bountiful harvests or successful hunts. The very act of moving in unison, whether in a circle or a line, symbolized the interconnectedness of all life, echoing the Indus Valley's holistic worldview. What's fascinating is how these ancient practices continue to resonate today. The legacy of Indus Valley dance can be seen in the traditional dances of South Asia, where movement remains a powerful medium for storytelling, devotion, and cultural identity. The intricate footwork, expressive gestures, and rhythmic patterns of modern dance forms like Bharatanatyam or Kathak may have roots that stretch back to the Indus Valley, a testament to the enduring power of this ancient art. As we reflect on the dance rituals of the Indus Valley, we're reminded that movement has always been a universal language, capable of expressing what words cannot. These ancient dances were more than performances, They were acts of creation, connection, and reverence, woven into the very fabric of a civilization that valued harmony and beauty. And as we prepare to conclude our journey through the enigmatic rituals of lost civilizations, we'll explore how these ancient practices continue to shape our world, offering timeless lessons about the power of tradition, the resilience of culture, and the enduring quest for meaning in the human experience. As we come to the end of our journey through the enigmatic rituals of lost civilizations, it's impossible not to be struck by the sheer diversity and depth of these ancient practices. From the sun-worshipping ceremonies of the Egyptians to the bloodletting rites of the Maya, from the sacred drumming of the Celts to the transformative visions of Amazonian shamans, each ritual offers a unique window into the beliefs, fears, and aspirations of the people who practiced them. These weren't just acts of devotion, they were profound expressions of humanity's quest to understand the world and our place within it. Through these rituals, we see how ancient cultures grappled with the mysteries of life, death, and the cosmos, weaving their spiritual lives into the fabric of their daily existence. What's remarkable is how these practices reflect universal themes that still resonate today. The reverence for nature, the cycle of renewal, the search for meaning, these are threads that run through every culture, connecting us to our ancestors in ways that transcend time and geography. Whether it was the Incas' offerings to mountain gods or the Minoan dances celebrating rebirth, these rituals remind us that humanity has always sought to find harmony in a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable. They are a testament to the creativity, resilience, and ingenuity of the human spirit, offering timeless lessons about the power of faith, community, and the natural world. Yet for all we've uncovered, these rituals are still shrouded in mystery. What other secrets might they hold? What truths about our past remain hidden, waiting to be discovered? Each artifact, each site, each fragment of ancient text offers a tantalizing clue, inviting us to dig deeper and piece together the stories of those who came before us. The more we learn, the more we realize how much there is still to explore, how many questions remain unanswered, how many connections are yet to be made. So, what do you think? Which of these rituals resonated with you the most? Are there any mysteries you'd like to explore further? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you've enjoyed this journey through the enigmatic rituals of lost civilizations, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. There's so much more to uncover, and we can't wait to continue exploring the wonders of history with you. Until next time, keep wondering, keep exploring, and remember the past is always closer than you think.